I became so depressed that I lost it. I decided that I was going to take my life, and I took in a deadly substance. I drank something that was supposed to kill me. They rushed me to the hospital. I began vomiting blood and something that looked like liver. It was very rough, like when you chew liver, that's kind of very rough substance. That was what I was throwing. I was vomiting black stuffs, but I did not die. The fact that Good morning, church. My name is Fortunate Akuchinyere Ephraim. I'm here to testify of what the Lord has done in my life. Few months to my final exams in 2021, I got involved in an accident that kept me bedridden for 5 years plus. I sustained internal head injury. I started having multiple seizures. Sometimes in a day, I would have seizures for like 10 to 15 times. I went for treatment. I went to different hospitals. Hospitals rejected me. From Aba, I went to Owerri and all that. And after a while, I began to get myself. 2 years later, while I was taking my bath in the shower, I fell down in the bathroom and hit my head again. From there, I started having very severe headaches, to the point that if you dip a big towel in a cold water and place it on my head, it will dry up. I couldn't close my eyes. My eyes were always bulging, like so wild. That was how severe the headache was. And I kept on having seizures. Sometimes I will have seizures to the point that I will begin to use my head to smash on the wall. I will begin to use my hand to smash on the wall, hurt myself from seizures. Sometimes I will have seizures to the point that my mouth will twist to the back of my neck like that. That was how bad it was. And while I was about recovering again for the third time, I got discharged from the hospital and went back home. While climbing down the stairs, I fell down on the staircase again. And then after that falling down, I had issues with my spinal cord. I couldn't walk on my own. I couldn't stand. I couldn't bend. I lost my memory.
All of this final year accident, bedridden for 5 years.
5 years.
They diagnosed me of partial amnesia. They diagnosed me of epilepsy. They said there was a fluid in my head. I had an injury between my skull and my brain, and that blood from the injury had covered a part of my brain, and that I needed to go for a head surgery where they were going to open up my head and bring out my brain, but I refused to go for that surgery because the doctor told me that it's a 50-50 thing, that if I go for the surgery, that it's either I don't survive or I would not just be okay. So I refused to go for that surgery. Up until this year, April, I became depressed because I lost everything I had. I lost my account. I lost everything. My parents, my brothers, everybody who kept on borrowing money. We were in so much debt just to keep me alive and keep me going. So I became so depressed that I lost it. I decided that I was going to take my life, and I took in a deadly substance. I drank something that was supposed to kill me. They rushed me to the hospital. I began vomiting blood and something that looked like liver. It was very rough, like when you chew liver, that's kind of very rough substance. That was what I was throwing. I was vomiting black stuffs, but I did not die. The fact that I did not die became another burden on me, because I was like, what did I do? Death has also forsaken me. I felt like the land of the dead has rejected me. Being alive has rejected me. I felt like I was a burden, until my dad called me on phone while I was in Lagos from Abia State, because I was in Lagos and I was going for medical. I was going to the hospital in Lagos because hospitals in East had rejected me. So they had to move me to a hospital in Lagos where I was taking my treatment. So my dad called me and told me that while he was sleeping, that the angel of God, the Lord, appeared to him and told him to ask me to come to Dunamis.
all that ordeal, she was not a member of this commission, didn't know anything about this commission, and didn't want to know anything about church until the dad had an encounter. God, using an angel of the commission in the face of God's servant, Dr. Pastor Paul Enenched, come to Dunamis. Pick it up from there.
So I refused to come to church. I told him I was not going anywhere. They begged. They had to do a lot of pleasing and convincing to get me here. I got into Abuja on the 28th of April this year, and on the 29th of April, I came that was on a Wednesday. I came for the midweek service. I came into the church premises around past 3 p.m. and I was just walking around the church, very, very confused, asking myself what I'm doing here. I just want to die and rest. So I just managed to stay with my younger sister that was with me. So while the service was going on, I was sitting somewhere at the back and I was just crying. I cried from the beginning of the service till the end of the service. I couldn't pray, I couldn't sing, I couldn't even listen to what the pastor was saying. My heart was so full, I just kept on crying. But by the time I got home, the first testimony was that I felt like a burden went out of me. I became excited. I just started, when I got to my hotel, because I lodged in a hotel somewhere around Lugbe. So while I was in my hotel room, I started dancing, I started singing. I was just unusually happy and excited. So I called my parents, I told them that I'm very happy. I don't know what's going on, but I'm super excited. Even though I was having severe headaches, I was in pain, but I was just happy. For somebody that has been depressed for a very long time, even to the point of taking a deadly substance, I was just too excited. So the next day, on Thursday, I came into the premises. I wanted to come in here, but they said I can't come in.
So fast forward to the healing and deliverance service.
So I had to go to the prayer garden. I sat down at the prayer garden and I was just there. All of these things, I would just go there. I just went there and sat down. I was not praying. I just stayed there and I was crying. Then the next week, Tuesday, healing and deliverance service, I was sitting down somewhere there where other sick people were. I just sat down there. When the senior pastor asked us to come out, those that are sick and all that, I refused to come out. I just sat down there. I was looking all confused. And then he said that we are going to dance for 3 minutes, that while dancing, that God is going to heal us. So reluctantly, I stood up and began to dance because seriously, I had lost all hope in God. I was no longer praying. For somebody who has been a chorister from the age of 7, for somebody who was baptized at the age of 12 and has been with God, for somebody who went to the university and was tagged a triangular student. That was what I was being called, because I would go from my class to lodge, from lodge back to church. I lost hope in God. So reluctantly, I stood up. I felt like God had failed me. I stood up and I began to dance. So while I started dancing, I felt like the bones in my spinal area began to crack. I was just hearing this kind of cracking sound in my spinal area, and I was so confused. So because of that, it encouraged me to dance more. I kept on dancing, and by the end of service that day, the spinal injury had disappeared. I was able to jump. I could do things that I could do things that I had not done for like 2 years and above. So from that moment henceforth, I began to take the things of God seriously, gradually. So I joined the Commanding the Day prayer. I kept on praying. And since that day up till now, no headaches, no fever, no seizure. Even when the devil tried to attack me again during the midday fast, I joined the midday fast, and on the 4th day of the fast, I started having seizures. My mom asked me to eat and take my medications. I told her that this is the devil and I am not going to eat and I'm not going to take my medications. If the seizures want to kill me, it should kill me. That I'm going to do the fast the way I should do it, 6 to 6 for the complete 7 days. And by the grace of God, I did it, and I registered because I wanted to keep on with my spiritual life, keep up with the knowledge of God. I had to register to become a student of Dunamis School of Ministry, and I was inducted on Saturday to the glory of God. I say, may God receive all the glory and honor forever in the name of Jesus.
All pain gone, headache gone, spine corrected, depression left forever, and she's come to give God praise for that total healing.
As God's fail, my God will never fail. As God's fail, my God will never fail. The same yesterday, today and forever. As God's fail, my God will never fail. As God fail, my God will never fail. Oh no, as God fail, my God will never fail. It's the same yesterday, today and forever. As God fail, my God will never fail. The story of this lady is a perfect example of the wickedness of the devil contrasted with the goodness of God, the faithfulness of God. Have you finished the school? No, it's not do some. I'm talking about she was in 5th year.
I was in my final year. I've not been able to clear, but I will start my clearance. I did my final year project and everything.
Excellent. Final year project was done, all of that, and then went into an accident. The accident did not take her life, but did not make her live. Do you understand? You know, there is a life at times where some people prefer death. That was her situation. Why am I living? Misery. If you know the definition, convulsion until you are hitting your head on the wall as if you are doing it voluntarily. But we serve a faithful God. Please, whatever happens, I'm talking to someone here. Don't give up on God. Don't give up on God, 'cause He won't give up on you. He's able. Don't give up. The devil might ask you, forget about it. Just throw in the towel. You've been going to church. What has it produced? Someone said the devil lied to her to say, if commanding the day is 1,000 days, it means you wasted 1,000 days of praying every night and you saw no result. Until she was in church on Sunday morning and saw the profit of praying. And everything changed. But what the devil failed to tell you is the countless testimonies that happened within those days. Countless. And you show the devil those testimonies and tell him, if you couldn't stop those ones, you can't stop mine. Nothing will make you stop mine. Nothing. But I'm happy because God visited the father using the face of his servant here. Come to Dunamis. Tell your daughter, come to Dunamis. Why did God say so? Because God knows what He placed in the commission, and He knows that this particular case is to be tackled here. This particular case is to be tackled here, and your case shall not be an exception. Your particular case shall be tackled here. In the name of Jesus. I'd like you to know, daughter, that God has a plan for you. You heard what I said? God has a plan for you. The devil fights people he fears. He fights destinies he fears. Your life is crucial. That is why he wanted you to die. That is why even when you took what could have killed you, God did not allow you to die, because your life is needed. I speak to someone here today. My God and your God will cause you to know that your living, your life is worth it. Keep this testimony at the back of your heart as we proceed in the service. Just hold it. That God knows you, knows who you are, knows where you are. He knows what to do about you. He is not confused. He is not wondering what to do. Just keep that testimony somewhere as we proceed in the service.